Good evening, Mr. Gandhi. It's an honor to finally meet you in person. I've heard so much about your philosophy of non-violent resistance. However, I must say that I completely disagree with your approach to achieving political change.
Good evening to you too, Mr. Hitler. The honor is mutual. I understand that our philosophies differ greatly, but I believe that we can have a respectful and productive conversation.
I appreciate your willingness to engage in this discussion. As you know, I firmly believe that the only way to achieve political change is through strength and power. Non-violent resistance, as you advocate for, is a sign of weakness and passivity.
I understand why you might see it that way, Mr. Hitler, but I believe that true strength lies in the ability to control oneself and resist the urge to resort to violence. Violence only begets more violence, and the cycle will never end.
I disagree. History has shown us that those who are weak and powerless are trampled upon and forgotten. Only those who have the strength to seize power and take control of their own destiny can succeed.
But at what cost, Mr. Hitler? Your philosophy has caused untold suffering and destruction. Non-violence, on the other hand, is a powerful and effective tool for change that doesn't require any loss of life or destruction of property.
You're being naive, Mr. Gandhi. The world is not a peaceful place, and sometimes force is necessary to achieve one's goals. I would argue that your approach is actually more harmful in the long run because it allows those in power to continue oppressing the weak.
I understand your concerns, Mr. Hitler, but I firmly believe that non-violence is the only way to achieve lasting change. The use of force only leads to temporary victories that are built on fear and intimidation, but non-violence creates a foundation of love and respect that can endure for generations.
I understand your point, but I believe that the use of force is necessary to achieve a truly strong and powerful nation. Without the ability to defend ourselves and assert our dominance, we will be at the mercy of others.
I understand your concerns about national security, but I believe that true strength lies not in the ability to dominate others, but in the ability to cooperate and work towards common goals. Non-violence can be a powerful tool for building relationships and fostering mutual understanding.
I see your point, but I cannot ignore the fact that my own philosophy has brought great success and power to my country. We have risen from a weak and defeated nation to become a dominant force in Europe.
I cannot agree with you, Mr. Hitler. The ends do not justify the means. The means we use to achieve our goals must be consistent with the values we seek to promote. Violence and destruction are never justified.
I understand your perspective, Mr. Gandhi, but I believe that you are too idealistic. The world is not always black and white, and sometimes difficult choices must be made.
I agree that the world is complex and difficult, Mr. Hitler, but I believe that non-violence offers a path forward that is consistent with the values of justice, compassion, and respect for all people. Through non-violent resistance, we can transform not only our society, but also our own hearts and minds.
I understand your commitment to non-violence, Mr. Gandhi, but I believe that there are situations where violence is necessary to defend oneself or one's country. You cannot simply sit back and allow yourself to be attacked without responding with force.
While I understand your perspective, Mr. Hitler, I believe that the use of violence is always unethical. It can never be justified because it violates the basic human right to life and dignity. We must always strive to find peaceful solutions to conflicts, even in the face of aggression.
But what if the other side is not interested in peace? What if they are determined to destroy us? In that case, I believe that we have a moral obligation to defend ourselves, even if it means using force.
I understand your concerns, Mr. Hitler, but I believe that there is always a peaceful solution to every conflict. It may require more effort and patience, but violence only leads to more violence and destruction. It is important to remember that every human being has the potential for goodness and reason, and it is up to us to appeal to that potential.
I see your point, Mr. Gandhi, but I believe that you are being too idealistic. The world is a harsh and cruel place, and sometimes we have no choice but to use force to protect ourselves and our way of life.
While it is true that the world can be a difficult place, I believe that our ethical principles should guide us, even in the face of adversity. We must never compromise our values or abandon our commitment to non-violence, even if it means taking a more difficult path.
But what if our enemies are not willing to play by the same rules? What if they are willing to do whatever it takes to win, including using violence?
It is important to remember that violence begets violence. If we respond to violence with more violence, we only perpetuate the cycle of hatred and destruction. Instead, we must have the courage to stand up for what is right, even if it means suffering in the short term. In the long run, our commitment to ethical principles will inspire others to follow our example and create a more peaceful and just world.
I understand your point, Mr. Gandhi, but I believe that ethics are relative and that different cultures have different values. What is ethical in one culture may not be ethical in another.
While it is true that different cultures may have different values, I believe that there are certain universal ethical principles that apply to all human beings. These principles include respect for life, human dignity, and the value of non-violence. Regardless of our cultural background, we all share a common humanity and a responsibility to promote the greater good.
I can see that our views on ethics are fundamentally different, Mr. Gandhi. But I appreciate the opportunity to engage in this conversation and learn from your perspective.
Likewise, Mr. Hitler, I believe that respectful dialogue and a commitment to non-violence are essential for creating a better world for all people.